Many films full of potential are being prepared for release in the near future. But do you have any idea which movies these are and just how incredible they might be? Zootopia 3. The adventures of Judy Hopps and Nick Wilde are not ending anytime soon. It seemed like the first movie would be the only one in the franchise, but a sequel was released in 2025, expanding this universe by revealing that not only mammals exist in this world, but reptiles as well. However, anyone who thinks the story ends there is mistaken. The post-credit scene of Zootopia 2 showed a feather falling onto Judy's roof, indicating that there will be a third film and that it will focus on birds. In fact, Zootopia 3 is already in development, although it is still in a very early idea exploration phase. These are the words of Jared Bush, co-director of both Zootopia films. According to him, the idea exploration phase takes around 2 years, while the time to fully complete the movie takes a bit longer. In other words, it's expected that Zootopia 3 will arrive sometime between 2028 and 2029. Either way, this is just one of the 12 incredible movies that will be released soon. Are you ready? Because another amazing Cinewave is starting now. Toy Story 5. One of the biggest animation franchises in the world is coming back, and we don't even know what to expect. Toy Story 5 will put the toys we followed for so many years up against electronic devices, with the main villain being LilyPad, Bonnie's new tablet. The idea of making modern technology the main enemy of toys, which are becoming outdated, is very smart and connects perfectly with the concept of the first Toy Story. After all, back then, Buzz Lightyear, being a more high-tech toy, was also seen as a threat to older toys like Woody. Speaking of Woody, he will return. Even though he separated from the toys in Toy Story 4, the cowboy won't go back to being Bonnie's toy, but he will help his friends deal with LilyPad. However, this will be more of a special appearance because the true main character will be Jessie, the new leader of the toys. We'll get to see how she handles LilyPad starting on June 19th. Lilo and Stitch 2, live action. The Lion King, Aladdin, Beauty and the Beast. Many films have received adaptations over the past 2 decades, including Lilo and Stitch. Released in 2025, the Lilo and Stitch remake ended up being a huge success, to the point that something unprecedented is happening, because it has been confirmed that this live action will receive a sequel. Yes, Lilo and Stitch 2 is real, and as surprising as it may be, this sequel won't even adapt the story from the animated follow-up called Lilo and Stitch 2, Stitch Has a Glitch, mainly because that movie was a lesser-known direct-to-DVD sequel, something many older Disney films eventually received. In other words, there is a brand new Lilo and Stitch story being developed right now, and we couldn't be more excited about it. Fortunately, there is already a release date for this sequel, May 26th, 2028. Moana live action. Another Disney franchise getting a new movie this year is Moana, but this one is a bit different since it's not a sequel but a live action remake. Yes, the story of the first film about the Voyager will be retold, this time with actors instead of animated characters. The original Moana movie was a huge success at the time, to the point that it has practically already become a classic, even though it was released only 10 years ago. Because of that, the decision to remake the film will bring a lot of people to theaters, and the production is set to hit the big screen on July 10th this year, and we can all agree that the movie has a lot of potential, especially since Disney had the courage to create a more realistic version of Tamatoa, and most importantly, cast The Rock Dwayne Johnson to play Maui. A lot of people will watch the movie just to see how that turns out. So what do you think about these remakes? Comment down below with #remake and your opinion so we can read it. Swapped. Netflix should never be underestimated when it comes to movies. We don't even need to remind you that K-pop Demon Hunters went straight to Netflix instead of theaters and ended up being an absolute hit, right? That's why it's always worth keeping an eye on the original animated films released by the platform. And one of the next ones coming out is called Swapped, with a story that looks at the very least incredible. This movie takes place in a wild world where 2 completely different creatures end up swapping bodies through some kind of magic. To get their original bodies back, they need to work together and go on an adventure, all while learning how to use their new bodies. The movie is set to be released on May 1st. One interesting detail is that Ollie, one of the main characters, will be voiced by actor Michael B. Jordan. This will be the first movie he releases after winning the Oscar for Best Actor for his performance in a horror film. It's kind of funny since these are 2 completely different types of productions. Sonic 4, the movie. Video game movies keep getting better and better. Sonic, for example, already has 3 successful films, each one better than the last, and that number is about to grow because Sonic 4 has been announced and is currently in production while you're watching this video. The post-credits scene of Sonic 3, the movie already made it clear that the next adventure of the fastest hedgehog in the world will pit him against Metal Sonic, a robot who has all of his powers and then some. Another thing that became clear is that Amy Rose will be a key character in this movie, since both she and Metal Sonic appeared in that post-credits scene. And it seems like those ideas are still moving forward, because the Sonic 4 teaser focused heavily on Amy and the robot. On top of that, the movie's title will feature a pink 4 to represent the blue hedgehog's friend and possible love interest. The film already has a release date, March 19th, 2027. Super Mario 3. Just like Sonic has been doing great in theaters, the same can be said about Super Mario. The second film in the Plumber's saga, Super Mario Galaxy, was recently released and took him and his friends on an epic space adventure. It's very clear that Illumination and Nintendo have plans for a sequel, something even the actors are aware of. In an interview, a statement from Jack Black, the actor who voices Bowser, hinted that we'll see him return to the role in 2029, and that makes perfect sense considering the first movie was released in 2023 and the second in 2026, 3 years later. 2029 is 3 years from now, so the timeline checks out. It's the time needed to write the script, record the voice acting, and animate all those incredible scenes. Even though we still have no idea what the main story will be or which game from the franchise will be adapted this time, we do know that the film will introduce Princess Daisy. She made a surprise appearance in the post-credit scene of Super Mario Galaxy and is ready to shine.
Subscribing to the channel is just as good as watching your favorite animations. Shall we click?
Moana 3. We've talked a lot about the Moana remake, but don't think that the fact a live-action version is being made means the animated films about the Voyager will be abandoned. Quite the opposite. Moana 2 ended with us seeing the physical form of Nalo, the evil god who had cursed humanity. Since Moana succeeded in breaking Nalo's curse, the god has decided he's going to deal with it himself, which means he and Moana are set to clash in the future. This makes it very clear that Disney has plans to continue this story. After the second movie became a box office success, it's almost certain that Moana 3 will be developed. So far, the movie hasn't been officially confirmed, but it's only a matter of time before that happens. In fact, it's very possible that Moana 3 is already being made in secret. After all, the second film was announced as a surprise in 2024, the same year it hit theaters. It had been in production long before anyone knew. Taking that into account, it's totally possible that Moana 3 could hit theaters around mid-2027. Donkey Kong, the movie. You're mistaken if you think Mario is the only Nintendo character getting new movies, because the truth is that other games from the company will receive their own films, and one of them will be Donkey Kong. The gorilla stole the spotlight in Super Mario Bros. The movie, and coincidence or not, a project titled Untitled Donkey Kong Movie was registered in 2025. This was filed under Universal Pictures, the owner of Illumination Studios, the very same studio responsible for producing the 2 animated Mario films in partnership with Nintendo. So it's completely fair to assume that Illumination is producing a Donkey Kong movie set in the same universe as the Plumbers films, acting as a kind of spin-off. If that's the case, the gorilla's solo adventure should hit theaters in 2027, or at the latest 2028. Masters of the Universe. Super Mario and Donkey Kong are classics from the 80s, and there's something else from that era that was hugely popular and is about to receive a movie adaptation. We're talking about Masters of the Universe, the He-Man movie. Just like some of the biggest hits in recent years, it looks like the film will stay very faithful to the original production, at least visually. And if you're excited to explore or rediscover the planet Eternia, the movie is set to be released on June 5th. Supergirl. In 2025, a new Superman movie was released to mark the beginning of a new era for DC Comics superhero films. And the next movie in this new era will focus on Supergirl, Superman's cousin. Even though she has the same powers as her cousin, she's not as by the book as Earth's greatest hero. Speaking of Earth, it looks like her adventure will be entirely space-based and will feature other characters from the DC universe, such as Lobo, played by Jason Momoa, who previously portrayed Aquaman in the old DC universe. And we'll find out much more about this production on June 26th this year, when the movie is released. 3 Bags Full, a sheep detective movie. There are some sentences you never think you'll say in your life. For example, we would never imagine that one day we'd be talking about a movie where sheep have to investigate a mystery, but that's exactly the premise of 3 Bags Full, a sheep detective movie. The story follows a flock of sheep who love listening to mystery stories read by their shepherd, played by Hugh Jackman. That is, until the shepherd is mysteriously murdered, which forces the sheep to use the investigative skills they learned from those books to figure out who the culprit is. It's a comedy film with talking animals, just like the ones that were commonly made in the 90s and early 2000s. And we'll all get the chance to enjoy this madness starting with the film's release, which is scheduled for May 8th.
If you like this video, there are 2 more ready on the screen. Just click and keep watching with us. Thanks, and see you soon.